Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blank Gates. Welcome, welcome. Today is really exciting because today, well, we're we have one specific goal, and that is that we want to use the export feature on my website. You may be asking yourself, "What do you mean export feature? What are you talking about? Your website? What is this website? What is going on? What are you talking about?" Well, let's start. So the whole purpose for building the website was actually because like I needed the website for myself. So the whole purpose was that um well, I think maybe the best way to explain the situation is to go into the book of Tom Buckholtz and look at what he has to say. Now, before we do this, I just want to pull this tab out because it always messes up if I don't pull the tab out. And let me just check the audio and the video from the perspective of the viewer. Good. Looks like it's working. And the audio, can I hear myself? Good. All right. Everything's good. So let's jump into Tom's book. Now, if we jump into Tom's book, it's called Create Crucial Insight. And, you know, I think one of the issues that I was facing when I was talking to Tom the first time that I mentioned to him was that sometimes I just don't have that much motivation to get something done. And I mean, now that I look back, it's not necessarily true. I've sustained this effort for 10 years. So that leads to a fundamental belief in the concepts that I've been learning and teaching. It also doesn't show that I lack motivation. Uh, it just shows that the expectations of motivation and energy have been different than reality. But certainly we've done a lot of work and we're building this website. And now, anyways, the point I wanted to make, the title of today's video is talking about how to overanalyze, but also create tasks. The idea that I want to show you, it comes from Tom's checklist called state purposes. And when we go into the state purposes checklist, what you're going to notice is that it's got these categories of purposes or motivations. And when I teach this to students, like 90% of the students fall asleep. So if you're watching the video right now and you're like, if you're not ready to go a little bit deep, then just be warned. You may start to feel yourself getting a little bit tired. Maybe jump ahead in the video a little bit. I'm already feeling tired just looking at this page. You are getting very sleepy. Anyways, let's look at this. See this middle section here? It says agendas. Now, so what's happening here? It says envision purposes and that motivate or can motivate individuals, teams, relationships, or activities. All right. So what Tom's saying is that people are generally motivated by purposes. There's some purpose. There's something that you want. There's something that you are working towards. There's something you desire. There's something you have a vision about, right? And then and we call all those things purposes. And then Tom he makes a whole list of like purposes that people are trying to like desires or motivation, purpose, things that people are working towards. And so um and then he connects it to his fundamental theory of the endeavor elements. He said every endeavor. So the endeavor means the task, the work, the thing that we're doing, the project. So this everything that we do is has some connection with these three elements. One of the elements is effects. Now, an effect, it means when you actually get it done, when you actually do it. So we do some, it's called cause and effect. So we do something and it creates something. For example, you could say having satisfying experiences or relationships. If you're motivated to have satisfying experiences or relationships, then probably you're going to take action in order to be in the presence of other people and doing interesting things. Like for me, I mean, having satisfying relationships it must not be a primary endeavor. I'm more introverted. Um, like as you saw in my last couple of videos, I'm like thinking about this dog as if it's like I'm hiring it to do a job, and like I've literally like raised it since it was a little teeny tiny puppy. The only person in this world that it knows is me. For him, it's like I'm the love of his life. But then I look at it and I'm like, well, he helps me go for walks. So it means there's something fundamentally different about the way I process relationships. So if you're going to be like, well, if you go to this event, you can have like really satisfying relationships. I'll be like, okay, can do we have to go to the event? But for you, if you're like, I love people, I like meeting new people, I like having fun with people, I like getting to know people, I love people, people, people. If you love people, then you're going to do things that enable you to talk to more people. And probably you'll do more and more things to be able to meet the people that you want to meet. Like, remember how Jordan Peterson's always like mentioning how he's really extroverted, which is really weird. I think it's weird that he's extroverted. So he's got huge openness, huge extroversion, and it means that he loves talking to people. And then he created a career where he just constantly talks to people, more and more people. He has a bigger audience. He talks to people on his YouTube show. Then he goes and he does like in-person events, and then he has like some kind of ARC foundation. Like he's literally finding ways to communicate with the public all day long. In contrast, there's this guy named Blaine Gates. He has a YouTube channel called Space Between Ideas, and he doesn't interview nobody. He talks about books and ideas. That's it. Like that's all he talks about. I mean, I wouldn't mind inviting people to my show. Maybe it's possible in the future, but for now. All right, so that's effects. Like, okay, so and then other people maybe they feel like they have a big burden or a desire to provide resources. Like this is me. So like I have this burden. Like I'm trying to provide some kind of method. Now the question is, are you trying to provide that method for other people? I mean, that's different. So this one here is the having satisfying experiences. In this line, we're not even asking the question about like people. We're not talking about people. So what I'm saying is like I'm going to show you today my website, and at the end of the process, we're gonna produce a PDF document. All right, I'm going to show you. We're going to walk through the whole thing. All right. Now, why? So, why did I build this thing? It's related to this primary motivation called agendas. So, I have this like intrinsic drive to gain goals, purpose, or a sense of direction. And then once I find that sense of direction, then I just work towards it. So, like, I had a major glitch in the last 2 months because I thought that something was happening. I'll give you some examples. So when I was in Canada, when I was in the US, when I was in New York, when I was like 19 years old, I met this old man. And for a while, I'd had this drive, this sense of direction, that's this purpose to learn languages. And then this man told me he could speak 7 languages. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's insane. And then I asked him, like, okay, I want to be an international businessman. What languages should I study? So he gave me a list. The first thing I did, I went to my university. I talked to the German professor, and he told me that all business people speak English. So I scratched that off the list. Next thing you know, I'm in China, and like I'm studying Chinese, and I'm doing an undergraduate degree, and in amongst a sea of black hair, and then I'm graduating, and then I'm working in a law firm, and it's like, wow, that was insane. Next thing you know, somehow I just arrive in California, in Silicon Valley, and then after a couple of years, I go back to Canada, and then after a couple of years, I find myself in Russia, and now I'm starting to learn Russian. Like I had a Russian lesson yesterday. I've been studying Russian for 7 years, and like I have this tutor, and we're like, so right now the book I have, it's called From Intermediate to Advanced, and I have two books that I'm focusing on right now. One is basically like a regular textbook. It gives some vocabulary, it gives you some exercises, And then the thing is that it doesn't have like the intermediate level exercises. Well, it doesn't, I should say, it doesn't have the beginner level. The problem with Russian is that the beginner level is advanced because the Russian grammar is so complicated that the beginner level is already advanced. So once you get to advanced, you're in like super advanced. There's no beginner level in Russian. So I have two books. I have like a workbook to do exercises for like beginner level grammar that I've never actually memorized and turned it into an actual skill. And then there's the regular textbook. So that's just an ongoing project. It's like a hobby. I do it once a week, once or twice a week, and that's it. It's just part of my life. I enjoy having exposure to the Russian language. Then I moved to Saudi Arabia. I took Arabic lessons for a year, and after a year, I just realized that Arabic is very similar to Russian in a lot of ways. And then I started to realize that some grammar phenomenon that happens in like Arabic and Russian happens in a lot of languages, German, French. Like then I just started to realize Spanish and like, wow, okay, it's happening in all the language. So then I started seeing the bigger picture of grammar because you don't get that same picture of grammar in the world of Chinese, where it's like there's zero grammar in Chinese. All it is it's character placement. That's it. Word order. But you never change the sounds or the words based on grammatical concepts. You use the same word for everything. Like, if you're like je suis, tu es in French, je suis is like I am, tu es is you are. So even in English, I am, you are. And then in Russia, yeah, but they don't use the word to be in this like as a reflection of yourself. So you can't say je. In Russian, you say yeah, what? I, and then they miss this character. Anyways, what's the point? So then from there, I moved here to Georgia 3 years ago, and now I'm stuck in this apartment. I had like a crisis in the last 2 months because I just had started getting this like overwhelming feeling like I'm just dying of boredom and I want to get out of here and I want to sell the apartment and I want to move to another country and I want to change things in my life. And I worked through all of that, and after 2 months, like I'm still looking for that sense of direction. And the thing is, like, am I in default mode? Am I still here? So I had the vision or the dream that like basically I'm stuck. This is like the last station on the road. Like I'm in the mountains of Georgia in a village. Like there's no more stops after this. This is the very last stop. I'm at the end of the whole world. And it's also here where I started learning French. So this is my final language is the French language. And I've been studying French for, a little over a year, 2 years practically. I speak French between an hour and 2 hours every day. Well, I wouldn't say speak, I read. I read with my tutor. I practice reading. I'm really good at reading. So there's always this sense of direction. And right now I'm thinking about like what is it going to take for me to get back to Canada? And one of those things is the ability to speak French. One of those things is to have a business which is producing revenue. And then the business, the issue that I have is that like sometimes I have like a passion and I just go for it and I just push everything into it. But the problem is all of that passion and all of that pushing got me here. Like I'm literally at the end of the world uh in a village. And like I don't have the ability to just go back to Canada. So it's like a helicopter, like I'm building the helicopter. I'm physically building the helicopter. And then once that propeller starts moving, it's going to speed up like very, very slowly. It's going to gain some momentum. And then finally, at some point, we're going to get liftoff. Like liftoff, it's like when I make enough money that like I can get back into. See, the thing is, I was kind of like a digital nomad for a couple of years, and I was making enough money that I could travel to most budget countries. And I really enjoyed the process. And then suddenly things got more expensive, and then I got a dog, and then now it's like it's more expensive. How, like, where are you going to put your dog? How are you going to pay for that dog on the flights? And then are you going to, and then how, which Airbnbs are going to allow pets? And then also you've already been to all the budget countries, so now if you want to go to the next layer of countries, what countries are those going to be? So I'm like always overthinking everything, and sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not useful. I don't know if it's useful or not because like I'm sitting here all by myself next to the mountains of Georgia. So did I actually get the result I was looking for? I mean, if you're doing a startup company and you have a wife and kids, it's like either you got to be successful really, really quickly, or if you're like the 99% of other people, you give up, you go back to work. Get back to work, go make money. You have to pay for all that stuff. But like I ran away from all that stuff and I just focused on my dream. So I've been like so focused in gaining goals, purpose, and sense of direction that like I skipped out on a lot of other things in life in order to be able to focus on this thing because I'm just trying to develop this potential. So the question is like the goals and the purposes that you pursue, which create the actions, they're all based on like what is possible for your situation. And it's possible for me to deploy methods and skills. It's possible for me to deploy knowledge. It's possible for me to create resources. I'm trying to provide a tool, and the tool is Project Arrowhead. All right, so here's the website. Now, what we're going to do today is, as you know, if we jump back into our planning device using Notion, then you know that like, okay, number one task, defining the organizational chart. Okay, so we need workers with assignments and tasks. What are the objectives and how they organize in this document? That's a good question. Um, so we're talking about we need objectives, we need tasks, and then once we have tasks, we also need to decide who's going to do those. Now, if we jump down into our O'Leary signal, then that's going to give us some direction about what we're supposed to be working on. Just pick one task and begin. So we got test the export task list. Exactly. So that's what we want to do is we want to test the export task list today. And we're going to do that by going through Project Arrowhead, deciding on blog posting objectives. Exactly. This is what we're doing today. We're doing these two items. That is the signal. Now we have a couple of helpers. Department good. Okay, so we got our Kanban. Going through Project Arrowhead and deciding on the blog posting objective. Exactly. So there should also be here. Blog page. Define the first content piece. Then the choose module, write the email campaign. Okay, so the email campaign's a little bit further in the future. So we're doing this first item. It's in our to-do list. It's in our Kanban. No two ways about it. If we open up our business growth engine, it's like literally the very first step of our business growth engine. Okay, it's not the first step of our here it is. So it's like literally our first step of our business growth engine. We have to start see the Google Gemini and also the Project Arrowhead at the same time. All right, so let me just share the entirety of the screen. And then we're going to have Google Gemini over here on the one side. And then we're going to have this one over here. And my assumption is that it's going to work. Are we still working with the volume? Good. All right, let's pulse that out. Okay, perfect. Let's put that inside over here. All right. Maybe we'll put that in there as well. Pop-up strategy clinic. All right, so what's happening is we're using Project Arrowhead. We go to the home screen and then, all right, so we got 7 crucial questions for more, better task lists. I think I need a comma because it would be more task lists and better task lists. So that I think grammatically there should be a comma between more and better. But then it's supposed to be a joke, so it's like more better. Anyways, I guess professional environment, sometimes people don't like the same jokes that I like. To inside your project management software. All right, so what I'm saying is it's okay to overanalyze. And that if we use Tom's work and if we use the changes I've made to his work, then overanalyzing is fine. So our objective here is we want to go to this here. So there's an export to task list. You can download the full project as a PDF. So our job is to click this button. There's going to be some tasks, and we're going to go through all the modules. All right, let's start with imitate. So we got, okay, so how are others doing it? Have you figured out best practices, talk to experts, and follow the trends so you can keep up with what's going on, provide examples. And then we did this already. It's higher up in this chat. It says our recommended content strategy. Based on this, my strong recommendation is adopt C, the specialist. Now, you could just the specialist. Our recommended strategy is the specialist. What does that mean? It means that we should focus on content exclusive on Project Arrowhead Framework. This is the most direct path to attracting your ideal user, a manager who's actively looking for a better way to plan and lead. It clearly communicates your unique value and builds a brand around your intellectual property from day one. And then, in fact, Google Gemini, it then gave us like an actual outline. So it said, the pain of pointless brainstorm. Start with a relatable story about a typical brainstorming meeting that goes nowhere, full of random ideas, no clear direction, ending with the vague action items. This hooks the reader by describing the pain they've personally felt. The flaw. The flaw in thinking outside the box. Argue that popular advice to think outside the box is the problem. True innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens after you first understand the box you're in. Introduce the imitate principle. Introduce step one of your framework. Explain the most effective teams begin not by generating new ideas, but by first understanding the landscape. What are our competitors doing? What are the current trends? What are the established best practices we can learn from? Frame this not as copying, but strategic intelligence gathering. You see, and that's very simple. Now, this immediately helps me to realize, okay, so if we're talking about LinkedIn, like what's the LinkedIn blog post? Like what's the size? How much text should go into one of these posts? All right, let's go to the next step. So it's literally saying that the first blog article should be about the step one, imitate trends in the brainstorm module, which is this page. Let's go to the next page. Oh wait. Well, how about tasks? All right, so the one task was like find out how many words should be in a LinkedIn post and blog article, and we're going to assign it to me. You see? So this also gives us a place to immediately add tasks to the task list. Next step. Now that you've done your research, it's time to think outside the box. Don't limit yourself to what's already been done. Generate completely new, creative, and innovative concepts. Now that you've done benchmarking, you're going to get ahead. If you're going to get ahead, we need to think outside the box. What other ideas do we have? All right, so this was like it came up with some ideas. All right, choose your own adventure blog post, a branching narrative where the reader is a manager. Each choice, you listen to the new intern's wild ideas, lead down a different path, illustrating the principles of the framework in action. Some paths lead to ruin, others to success. I don't know, sounds kind of challenging. Like, I'm not really sure, man. Like, if we're talking about a narrative, like a story, then it's like, I don't know if I really want to read stories about interns making bad decisions. I already have the reality right here in front of my face. So just tell me the solution. All right, let's move on. Strategic tarot card deck. Design a beautiful physical or digital deck of 22 cards. 5 cards for the core principles, others of common business challenges, cash flow crisis, low team morale. Others can draw a card for daily inspiration. Uh, okay. So it's like a gimmick where it's like you just go there. It's a little bit entertaining. Um, I think it's distracting. The AI generated business soap opera, a daily 1 minute video short feed of dramatic business scenarios into an AI video generator and show how the framework principles can solve absurd AI generated corporate drama. Like, I think that's interesting. Um, but you'd need to have like a screenplay writer. And um, I've written a couple of little screenplays. I've made a couple of little films. And I would say in general, it's really hard to come up with like multiple stories. Like sometimes I get a story and then I write it down, but it's like few and far between. So then how am I going to maintain this over the long term? The workshop of a soundscape, a 5 track EP. Each track is a piece of music designed to evoke the feeling of step. Come on. Silent consultation video series, a series of beautiful shots, silent black and white videos where a consultant uses only a whiteboard, physical objects, and gestures to solve what the leaked memo. We create a fictional rivalry company and leak their internal memos showing how they are using Arrowhead Framework to dominate the market. It creates intrigue, demonstrate the full power of this. That's interesting. That's crazy. So people like they think they're reading an internal memo and it's like, yeah, but then eventually they're gonna realize, wait a minute, this guy's an idiot. He's just pretending that this company's what company is this? And then they go look for the company. It's like this is not a real company. All right, recipe box. First 100 subscribers get a physical box mailed to them. Inside are 5 recipe cards, each with the come on. The business problem escape room, a digital interactive puzzle. The team is trapped in a failing project. They must use clues tied to the 5 principles. Come on. An anti-case study collection. We interview founders about their biggest failures and then write an analysis of how Arrowhead Framework would have saved them. Okay, so I mean, like, okay, I got a question. A question is like, um, where are managers posting comments about issues they are facing? Okay, that's an idea. Managers haiku. Come on. Augmented reality office AR filter for Instagram. You point your phone at it. Okay. Generative art piece, an interactive web page where the user inputs their business problems and the site generates a unique piece of abstract art representing shape. A fictional manager's a blog written from the first person perspective of a manager who's just discovering the framework and applying it to their dysfunctional team. Pop-up strategy clinic. Set up a booth for one day in a business co-working space. The sign says, "Bring me your biggest problems. I'll give you a clear next step." And okay, that's good. Except that I'm in a village. So I mean, I'm for the idea of providing like free advice and like helping people get through the tool. Um, the challenge is like how to actually get people to come onto the show because usually they're going to be sharing with you some personal information, some private corporate information. So it can be difficult to turn that into an actual long-term gig. Reverse Psychology posts an article titled Five Reasons the Strategic Framework Will Absolutely Ruin Your Company, where each reason ironically highlights a core benefit. It will force you to have uncomfortable but necessary conversations with your team. Yeah, so that was the one I like. I like that idea. So there's gamification, interaction, sensory. Okay, let's. So the only one, basically, we have two options here. We can just write like a regular post. Okay, so far, based on the work we've done with the first two steps, in the first step, we've identified that we should be talking directly about our product. Now, it's not that we can't refer to other products at some point, and it's not that we aren't ever going to refer to other thinking tools or thinking methodologies, but the main focus should be teaching this methodology, showing how it could be used, applying it to examples, applying it to specific situations, talking about the news, talking about what's hot, finding out what's going on in the business world, and then being able to bring in. See, the thing is that right now, what people really want to some extent is it's kind of like fan art. So imagine that you love Batman and then somebody magically makes some kind of Lego movie about Batman and then everyone's like, "Wow, I love Lego and I love Batman and now I can see Batman and Lego together. Oh, I love it." Or you have like some artist or somebody who does some stop motion animation or anybody who can create fan art for some situation which is already happening, which is already in the minds of the people. And this also happens with news information. Sometimes when you might hear some kind of business news, and then you can break down that news item and you can say, look, based on like the decision of this company, you can see how they imitated the behavior of this other company, or they imitated some kind of behavior in another industry and they found success. So we can find a lot of examples where we show how imitate is a standard practice for being able, and we can define imitate, we can show examples for imitate, we can tell stories about imitate, and then we can also apply it to not just the big companies, but also into the team, about relationships and about how people work together, how people can succeed, how people can manage their business internally, and find all different ways to apply this in order for small teams, individuals, departments, and companies inside of industries to succeed. Then in the second one, we talked about like I guess then it became very specific because I found that like from all the advice that you gave about thinking outside the box, the only the only thing I thought was like relatively interesting was the concept of reverse psychology. But in this case, we're still speaking directly about one of the steps of one of the modules. Like it seems like you're suggesting that we talk about step one of the module for for the blog articles. Now, I mean, in that case, um, another way to look at it is like, should we just write the whole ebook? Because once we write the ebook, then the blog articles would be like based on the structure of the ebook. The ebook is a natural outgrowth of the structure of the journey website, like the 17 module steps. So the 17 module steps is going to be in the ebook form. And then once you have the structure of the ebook, so you're taking the current structure of the website, you're making it into an even bigger read. And then once you have those bigger reads, then you can turn those into blog articles because then you just go through the book over and over and over again. And every time you go through the book, then you're going to be writing a blog article about each of the individual steps or about something related to those steps. So that's the forward approach, like starting with something small, getting bigger to an ebook, and then writing blogs based on that. Or you can go the other direction, which is like you just start writing blogs. And then after you've gone through all 17 steps, that means like maybe you've written 17 blogs, and maybe you've written a couple of other blogs like along the way, which aren't exactly identical to a module step, but it could be about other topics within the family of the concepts that I'm trying to express. And then once you've written the blog like over and over and over and over again, then we can switch from what's currently the lead magnet, which is like a YouTube educational series. It's a course that I recorded uh, last year, and then so we can use that. We already have a free course that we can give people, and then now we can focus on writing those blog articles like a 17-week cycle. And then after we've been through that cycle a couple of times, then we'll be able to use those blog articles in order to create the ebook. And then we can switch from the online course to the ebook. So there's a bunch of different ideas, but like it seems like we're starting to get around the idea of, yeah, so we should focus on talking about the modules, the concepts of the modules, the actual steps, and then also the theory, what's the modules based on. And we've already talked about that and written that in the step two. So, like, first, let's create a little summary of potential ideas based on our conversation so far about what our blog article might be about. And then after you've made a list of all those things, then suggest some thoughts you have regarding step three, which is ignore. So, for example, learning from failure is critical, and some ideas didn't work, won't work, or are a waste of time. Identify these anti patterns preventing you from repeating the mistakes of others. There are things that didn't work, won't work, or are wasting our time. Can we list some don't do that ideas? At least figure out what other people have tried and failed. So, it could be both about like specific ideas that we might not want to pursue, but it could also be about like other behavior around how we're going to get things done, and maybe behaviors that are slowing us down or behaviors that are making this more difficult than it should be. So we just want to have a list of potential objectives and also potential blog titles and blog themes to talk about. And then also then what of these should we probably ignore? And then what are some behaviors and some general ideas or things we're doing that might be causing us unneeded waste of time or a failure? Beep bop boop. This is a good thing about AI because it understands like everything and then it'll just summarize it all at some point. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Of course, it sounds like you've done a great job synthesizing the two steps. You've correctly concluded that the core content strategy should be specialized on your own framework, using it as a lens to analyze the business world. The fan art concept, you've also identified keys to strategic choice. You write the ebook first, build up a series of blog posts, let's organize them, and then move to the okay. So, part one, a summary of the potential blog. Number one, ebook first path. Commit to writing a full 17-step ebook as a next major project. Once completed, this comprehensive document becomes a wellspring for all future content, easily broken down into blog posts, video scripts, email courses. The blog first path. Commit to a 17-week cycle of writing one blog post each step of the framework. Then this gets out the content faster, allows you to test ideas. Later, these proven posts can be compiled and expanded into an ebook. Potential blog theme. The framework deep dive series. Beyond the buzzword, the first question every team must answer before brainstorming: how to generate breakthrough ideas, a guide to step two, ideate, the art of strategic quitting, mastering step three, ignore, theme two, apply framework and fan art series. What recent tech company merger teaches us about strategic innovation, imitation, analyzing a blockbuster movie's plot using the three module framework, breaking down the content news event and interfere analysis. Theme three, the counterintuitive series. Why thinking outside the box is a terrible advice and what to do instead. The most productive thing that your team can do this week is nothing. Here's why. Step three, what should we ignore? Now that we have this rich list of potential things to do, let's apply the critical filter three. Learning from failure is key. What should we consciously decide not to do? And what behaviors are wasting our time? Ideas and strategies are potential to ignore. Should we ignore the ebook first path? Writing a full book is a massive undertaking that could take months, delaying our feedback and audience building. Is this the best? Is it better to get content out weekly via the blog? Should we ignore the fan art posts initially? Applying the framework to complex news stories might be too advanced for an audience that doesn't yet understand the basic principles. Should we focus exclusively on the deep dive series first to build a foundation? Should we ignore creating complex videos for now? The business growth engine involves the YouTube video and shorts. Is the is the effort of producing high quality video a distraction from the core tasks of writing and getting the ideas validated? Behavior and mindset potentially ignored. Ignoring the temptation to perfect the tech. You've mentioned the struggles with updating the website. Should we ignore all crucial website tweaks for the next month and focus 100% on writing? Ignoring the need for a huge following. Is it a waste of time to worry about follower counts right now? Should the only metric that matters be whether a handful of people are reading and finding the content useful, ignoring other people's methodologies? We've done our benchmarking. It's time to ignore the Porter's five forces or blue ocean strategy says and focus exclusively on developing the voice and application of our own framework. Which of these don't do ideas or ignore these behaviors resonate strong with you as potential source of waste of time or failure? Yeah, I mean, what was that? I think it's marketing. All right. So as you can tell, in case you didn't see that, I had a just conversation earlier today about Hamas stated objectives for October 7th. So yeah, I have a lot of conversations with people about different things. And yeah, that was an interesting conversation, which we're not going to go to into right now. I'm starting to see the reason why people don't mix politics and business because like that's one of the first things I talked to Tom about. I was like, this book, your book is really interesting. It's going to provide the ability for people with bad intentions to become more effective. And he's like, this is science. Like, you can't control everything and everybody and how they're going to use those tools. So you have to decide, is it business? Like you're building something, you're a builder, you're an engineer, you're providing something. Like this goes back to this like here. Like the question is, are you trying to enhance people's lives or the fabric of society? How do you do that? And I mean, if you're just simply providing a resource, you can't control how people use that resource. There's no filter on my website. Like, what is your religious affiliation? No, you can't do that. It's like it's impossible. How are you going to do that? Okay, so yeah, I agree. I think you did a really good job in pointing out a lot of the issues. It seems as though you almost have an opinion about what should be done. So, can you just state your opinion about what you think we should be focused on in like two or three sentences, and then in point form, list the things which should be ignored? I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I think it's obvious from the way that the words were structured. It wants me to begin right away on writing the very first blog and follow the 17-week process. Your primary should be blog first path, commit to a weekly deep dive, one of 17 framework steps, most direct way to build momentum, establish authority, attract the right audience. You should ignore the ebook first. You should ignore complex video production. You should ignore all non-critical tech work. You should ignore worrying about follower counts. Exactly. That's exactly. It was obvious from what it was saying. I mean, I agree. It's like because the whole point of what we're talking about right now is reducing this concept of over. Now, I'm saying overthinking is okay. Like this, what we're doing right now is we're overthinking, and as long as we have a method for getting back to reality, then there's nothing wrong with overthinking. All right. So what is it that we're trying to do here? So we're trying to come up with blog titles and ideas for each of the steps and begin by thinking about um, moving one post at a time or creating a series where each step links. Maybe I could use that assigned to in a different way. Okay, let's keep it going. So now we're on the next page, which is integrate the most powerful solutions. All right, so I just kind of updated the idea. I added a task to the task list where, um, yeah, I agree. I think that the primary objective is to begin writing the blog post right away. And so the objective, we now move the objective from like the overarching endeavor, which before was like what should we do, from the big picture. Now we're kind of settling in on, we need to write our first 17 posts. So from the perspective of if the context is like we're going to write 17 posts, then there's two opportunities here. One is an opportunity where we create a full series that has similar themes, similar ideas, and it helps somebody go along the path one step at a time. And then the other one is like more diverse, where each post is a separate post all unto itself, not necessarily talking about the same thing, but focusing on what should be done in that step, and then using examples that show how that step can be most profitably used by certain types of businesses in certain types of situations. So at some future time, maybe when we get to the choose module, then we can go through this concept. For right now, we want to just expand the conversation a little bit. So we're now on step 4, which is like, what's the most powerful solution? The most powerful solutions often come from combining existing ideas. How can you synthesize the examples you found to create something more effective and efficient for your customers, providers, and internal teams? How can you take the above examples and find ways to shorten the distance and speed things up regarding connections with customers, providers, and internal clients? How can we do this better? So I think that this expands the conversation quite a bit, because now it's like, well, all right, you wrote a blog article, and it's on your website, but like, and then did you also post it on LinkedIn? And um, are there other efforts that you need to make after you post a blog article, which is related to like promoting that blog article? And like, how is that blog article SEO optimized? Is your website SEO optimized? Is there a way to promote that blog article? Is How do you get more people to see it? How do you get it out there? How do you find your audience? How do you put it in front of your audience's face? How do you find groups where people are talking about these things? How do you find your community? What are some like non-scalable behaviors that you can focus on right now to drive traffic to that blog? And then also the blog content itself. When you go into that blog content, does it provide ideas that help people to feel like they are, through that idea, they're able to better connect with their customers, that they're better able to understand their providers, and they're better able to help their internal clients so that they can do the work that they're trying to do better. So there's a lot of different angles that we can cover when we're thinking about this concept of integrate. So I would be interested in you writing a very long explanation of potentially ideas that we should be thinking about and potential actions that we should do. And then after you finished making that, then I want you just to create like a bullet point form plan. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8, step 9, step 10, step 11, step 12. 12 steps. We're still, it looks like everything's still working. Biting my fingers off. There you go. Of course, let's deep dive into integrate. You correctly identified that for our objective, writing 17 blog posts. Integrate means much more than just hitting publish. It's about transforming a single blog post from a static piece of content into a dynamic center for complete system of creation, distribution, and connection. It's about making sure every piece of work does 10 jobs, not just one. In the integrated content, deeper look, let's break it down. Blog is not the final product, it's the central hub. Integration, creation. This is about building a marketing into the writing process. Create once, distribute forever. The hub and spoke model. Your long form blog post is the hub, its pillar of authority and ultimate destination. All your content create the week are the spokes. All other content you create that week are the spokes. Okay. Content atoms. As you write the 1,500 word blog posts, you're also creating smaller atoms of content. You should actively identify these 3 to 5 key quotes. one core concept, one key diagram or framework, one actionable tip. SEO is a creative partner. Integrate also means using SEO not as a technical chore, but as a creative input. Before you write a quick search on how to brainstorm effectively, common business strategy and mistakes can take exactly the language from your audience is using, integrate those phrases into your article, shortens the distance between your content and the way people actively looking for it, integrate reader's world. The content itself must be a tool for integration. It should be just give the reader an idea. It should also give them a tool for better connect with their own stakeholders. The tool, not just a theory principle. Every blog post must include a tangible, practical takeaway. Don't just explain what the ignore principle is. Provide a downloadable don't do this don't do list worksheet or a kill a feature meeting agenda. This integrates your abstract concept directly into the reader's real workflow. Show, don't just tell. When you use case studies, for example, integrate, it should tell a story about a manager who used the principle, finally get the sales team and the engineering team to agree on a new feature, integrate community and feedback. This is using non-scalable personal behaviors. The 10-person rule, after you publish each post, your job is not done. You should next step is to personally email it to 10 people you think would find it valuable. Don't just send the link, add a personal note. Hey, name, I wrote this piece. Community seating, not spamming. Find a relevant group, subreddit, managers discuss their challenges. Uh, 12-step integrated content workflow. Here's a step-by-step plan. Distills philosophy into repeatable weekly. Select topic, choose one uh, keyword research, online post, write the draft, extract atoms, publish post, email newsletter, LinkedIn post, schedule shorts, community seating, direct outreach, review and repeat. Okay, here's the 12-step plan. Select the topic, keyword research, outline the post, write the draft, extract atoms, publish post, email news. Okay. Okie dokie. Interfere. All right, so the next one is kind of odd. It's like basically the concept is interfere. And although not everybody likes war, some people do like war. And business is war, and international relations is war, and maybe a marriage relationship to some extent is a war. But, anyways, people are always fighting for the things that they believe in, and they're trying to get their interests and desires met. So the thing is that I'm not the only one who is trying to promote their thinking tools and creating blog posts. And so the idea here is that a strong strategy includes building a competitive moat. Once you're once you're doing better, think about how you can create a sustainable advantage and make it harder for competitors to keep up. Now, that's one interesting idea, which is creating a competitive moat. But then there's the other idea, which is now that you're doing better, what are you going to do to slow down competitors? It's easier to pass cars going in slow motion. How can we slow them down? Now, since I don't know, I don't think we can necessarily like go and like hack into their systems and make problems in their systems. So we have to basically probably we have to face them head to head. And so what we need to do is we need to start to begin to make lists of our direct competitors, explain why they are our direct competitors, and then find ways to build on or criticize or explain. We can consider these as like friend and enemy. Some people call it a frenemy, and it's just from a from a distance it looks like it's like two different entities or a group of entities that are like it's like the octagon. So this is mixed martial arts. We're all fighting and battling it out, and the community has something to watch. The larger community, it gets a benefit from us fighting it out in the octagon. And so I need to figure out who are my competitors, number one, and then what are their thought processes, what are they teaching, what are they doing, and then start to express myself and provide arguments about why this is better. Okay, essence of war, interfering, identifying competitors, SWOT analysis, Porter's five forces, business model canvas, lean startup, design thinking, blue ocean strategy, most the motive process, the motive integration, interfere, engage in SWOT, post your SWOT analysis. Now what? 5 steps. Most people engage the business model canvas, lean startup. Okay. So what you're saying is that the blog articles themselves should be the way that we are going to interfere. It's that in sometimes, to some extent, we're going to be writing articles specifically about our concept and why it's great. And then there's going to be other articles about what are other things that other people are talking about. What are these other models? And then why are they flawed or how could they be improved? Now, those are standard models. So, but to some extent, what I'm trying to break into is also the coaching, the world of business coaching, and the world of consulting. And so, because I'm providing a product that managers can use, and there's a lot of people that get paid to listen to people, and those people, those consultants, those coaches are actually asking these same questions, or they're providing answers to those questions. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say there's actually already this process that we have here, and you don't necessarily need to spend as much money on a coach or a consultant when you can combine these questions with AI tools. An AI tool that costs, for example, $25 a month. So, I mean, what kind of business coach? How many hours from a business coach are you going to get for $25 a month? So the key is actually the questions that you are working towards, the questions that you're trying to solve. And then after you solve those questions, then how do you make decisions about what to do? And then also in the last module, we're going to go to the objectives module and turn it actually into a working process. So yeah, so I think that you should uh, we need to provide a like a I need to add some text to this box on the interfere page. And so I want you to create just like some bullets about potentially the main ideas that we've discussed about what it means to interfere and how that is going to influence the way that we write blog posts. All right, so I'm gonna end the so this is gonna be the first part. We finished the brainstorm module, and is it saved? Let's just click the save button. Okay, so it's saved. Now, what we can do here is we can export the brainstorm module. So let me just click this button here, and let's just click this button, move the brainstorm module over here. We got the brainstorm module. Let's open this up a little bit bigger. So we got the brainstorm module, generated a creative solution, discovered new possibilities with guided brainstorming, ready for completion. Step-by-step content, introduction. The first step to innovation. Okay, so that's the question. And here's the recommended. Okay, so we should focus our content exclusively on Project Arrowhead Framework. And then we went to ideate. We should focus our content exclusively on Project Arrowhead Framework. And then let's and then it just totally messes up. We could recommend our content strategy. You should focus. It just says the same thing in every single one. All right, so it looks like I got some work to do with the code, because that button definitely didn't work. All right, thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.